I would put on shows for my neighbourhood kid friends.
Yes, I can relate.
And my sister would be the stage manager.
Yes.
And the heels hoist, the sheets.
Yes.
And then she'd pull it, and there I was. And it was all about, look at me, look at me.
Hey, I'm Ange.
And I'm Beck.
And we are the Gold Diggers. Because we believe there's gold found in everyone.
Everyone is unique, interesting and exciting with a great story to share.
And we aim to find it.
The question is, can we rise to the challenge and strike gold?
Honey, you're my sugar.
So I love today's guest, Cathie Clancy. She's a chaplain. She's spent her life really impacting kids and young people. She's even had her own TV series.
Yeah, Cathie's story was amazing, and I really loved hearing of all the things that she's been through in her life. It's very interesting.
Oh yeah, there's so much in this. She's overcome cancer, had a breakdown, there was a divorce at age 20. Just so many things in this podcast, but so many victory stories there too. So stick with us. This is a great listen.
Honey, you're my sugar.
So this is how it works. One of us knows our mystery guest and the other doesn't. And today it's Beck's turn to discover the gold in our special guest, Cathie Clancy.
I'm really looking forward to meeting Cathie.
So we'll bring Cathie in a moment. But before we do, I'm going to give you 3 things.
Yeah.
That just to help you with your questioning. So the first one is she produced a TV series.
Ooh.
The second is she currently works with young people,
Yep.
school-age kids
Yep.
and their families. And she loves a good Hallmark movie.
Oh, lovely.
I thought you'd love that part.
Yeah, Hallmark movies are awesome, aren't they? Even though they're totally predictable.
I know, you can read them. But every Christmas you have to have a Hallmark movie,
They're
don't
lovely.
you, really?
Yes.
There's something cheesy about them, but you just got to do it at Christmas. So.
Popcorn, hot chocolate, Hallmark movie.
That's it. So let's bring Cathie in.
Let's bring her in.
Cathie.
Welcome, Cathie.
Hi, girls.
Welcome to the studio, Cathie.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you here.
It's exciting to be here.
And the 3 points that Angela gave me sounds so interesting.
Yeah, there's always a backstory to those things.
Yes. So, points.
And they're only just 3 points. There's way more.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
Wait
feel
for
like even the first point is going to lead to a whole lot of other subjects.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is the first point being that you produced a TV series.
Yeah.
How interesting.
OK TV.
Yes.
Which is Overflow Kids. So it's for children.
Yeah.
And we've been making television, we as in my husband and I, been making television to inspire kids and make them laugh, make them cry, discover who they are and their purpose in life. And it's been fun.
So what channel has
Australian Christian Channel.
Yes.
And then it went global. So it went all over the world and now it's on YouTube.
Wow. So how did this all begin?
Wow, where do I begin?
The question.
Yeah. I guess as a child, I was super outgoing.
Yep.
And so I would put on shows for my neighbourhood kid friends.
Yes, I can relate.
And my sister would be the stage manager.
Yes.
And the heels hoist, the sheets.
Yes.
And then she'd pull it and there I was. And it was all about, look at me, look at me. Singing, dancing, whatever I could do to entertain the troops in my neighbourhood and charge them entrepreneurially 5 cents to come in the gate.
Well done.
And did they pay it?
Yeah. And then my mum would make lemonade and toffees.
Yes.
And I'd sell them during the interval.
That's brilliant.
Wow.
And then I'd be back,
So how often did you do this for your neighbourhood kids?
I can't remember. I know I did it more than once or twice.
Yeah.
But I think my sister quit. Or I might have sacked her. I don't know. Yeah.
Didn't quite come up to the mark with that stage management.
I think she got bored.
Well, you were
with
the
me.
talent.
And she was happy not to be.
Yeah,
Just like
right.
chalk and cheese.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you had the right roles in that production.
Yeah,
So
totally.
sounds good. So that was the beginning of your love for performance.
Yes. And then I went on to, when you're this old, you've got a lot of story, right?
Yeah.
I'm not telling you how old I am, but anyway.
But you also realise how it all links up, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it just makes me think with that one question, like the linkage. So I became a primary school teacher as well. So my class was like, that's entertainment. The kids would come in and I would absolutely transform my classroom.
The class is your stage?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
And then I created a stage for them because I realised it's not all about me.
Yeah.
So, so creative arts, music, my husband and I are songwriters. So we've done 16 albums,
Amazing.
mostly for children, but then instrumental albums and...
Are you a singer as well?
yes, yeah. So that's
I can
my thing.
contest to that. She's an incredible singer. I've heard you a number of times.
Yeah, got to get my Christmas album every year.
Yes.
People listen to it all over. It's called Cathie Sings at Christmas.
Oh,
it's on Spotify. But so singing, and that was part of my entertainment. And then I went on to study singing and do it as a subject at school. And then I went into pubs and clubs, and anyone that would listen sang with Kylie Minogue.
Wow.
Yes, for an AFL Tridents night. When she was
Right.
16, I was 21.
Wow.
And she was so shy and nervous.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can do this.
Would she have been in Neighbours then?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you were encouraging her.
Absolutely. Just totally like, come on, girl, you can do this. She sure can,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so
So that would have been right at the cusp of her musical debut?
just
or-
starting.
Yeah,
Just starting to
right.
believe in herself in that. I mean, obviously was she on Young Talent Time?
Yeah, or was it just Danny?
Yeah,
I wouldn't
might
know.
have been. Yeah, I think maybe they
I know
both
she
were.
came in as a special guest a few times.
Yes, okay.
But I don't know if she went through Young Talent
Yeah.
Time.
So we went on different paths, obviously, because I got really, I lost my way as a young person, and the pubs and the clubs became absolute place where I just felt like ultimately I didn't belong.
Mm.
So yeah, it lasted for a little while.
Yeah.
I was in a band called Mike Brady, who wrote "Up There, Gazelle."
Oh, yes.
In there and fight. He had a band called Mike Brady and the Occasional Lady.
Right. Were
So
you the occasional
I was
lady?
the Occasional Lady when Lisa Edwards, who sang backing for John Farnham,
Oh,
couldn't
yes.
make it.
Right.
So I slotted in there, but the lifestyle around that world.
Yeah.
Because when I was a little girl, I had an encounter with God.
Mm.
So the gifts and the calling and, what was in me has had a greater purpose than just trying to be famous
Mm.
and get the accolades for myself.
So tell me about this encounter with God.
Yeah, so I went to a Catholic convent all-girls school and in Melbourne back in the day, 1975.
Yes.
The year I was born, Kathy.
Oh my gosh, really?
The year before I was born.
Oh, wow.
I was a
Work
twinkle
it
in
out.
my mum's eye.
Yeah, you can work it out. I was 15 at the time.
Yeah.
So this guy, Steve Ryder, who had an encounter with God in jail,
Yeah.
got out of jail and came to was a speaker at our assembly. Now, the nuns let him in. He just got out of jail. But his encounter, the 70s was like the Jesus revolution where like the love of God was sweeping the earth. And it reached our Catholic convent girls' school. So on that day, he brought some young people with him and he shared the love of God, and they gave their story about how they'd encountered him. And I sat there as a 15-year-old because my backstory is that as a child I was sexually abused by neighbourhood girls who used to come to my show.
Wow.
That's a story in itself. So I was by the time I got to 15, that entertaining girl was very broken and lost and angry and, hopeless. So when I sat in the assembly and heard the good news of what the sacrifice of Jesus for me, I sat there going, if this is real, I want to know. I want to know more. So he put out a teaser. He said, if you want to know more, I'm like, Do you know what I'm thinking? If you want to know more at recess, come to the library. So 500 girls sitting in the assembly, and my girlfriend sitting with me. I said nothing to anyone, and I just bolted to the library. And there he unpacked the Bible, the Word of God, and what Jesus had done on the cross and his resurrection life. And I sat there and went, well, put my hand up and said, I want this. I want you, God. I want you, Jesus. So from that point on, I want to sing again. This girl is on fire. so really,
You just sing whenever you like.
okay, thanks. That's what happens. I just grabbed my guitar, wrote my first God song,
Yeah.
and then I took my guitar to the school, and in break times I'd just sing God songs that I'd made up. And 7 girlfriends, we would ride the trains in Melbourne from our train line right into the city, and every station we'd get off and get onto another carriage and preach and share the Bible.
Yeah.
And so we would either be thrown off or people would listen, and we believed that, they would have an encounter too.
Yeah.
So years of these 15-year-old girls on fire. So we went to do the trains, and then we thought, well, who else can we share this good stuff with? And we thought nursing homes, because they're about to cark it and they need hope.
Yes.
So
Time's running out.
yeah, time is running out. So we would then go on a Saturday afternoon and visit the nursing homes locally
Amazing.
and just sing and hold hands
Yep.
and bring hankies and just love on. 2 years these young girls
I
did
watched the movie Jesus Revolution,
Right.
the one that's come out recently.
Yeah.
It's called that, isn't it?
Yes, that's what
Yeah.
it's called.
Yeah. Incredible. And a lot of stories, I think, around that era would have been very similar to that, because it just was what was happening in the world at the time.
It was amazing. It
Yeah.
was incredible. And us girls, we girls, would find out where it was happening in the city of Melbourne, and just make sure we were there at every rally, at every gathering.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So then you were saying that you then started going into the clubs and the pubs. Was that shortly after that, or? Yeah.
So school finished.
Yeah.
We all went our separate ways, and we had no one guiding us. And not very long, the distractions of, the things that are out there, boys. So one of the young men that was in the youth, I was like, oh my gosh, he's amazing. And so I fell in lust, I would say. I fell in lust with this young guy.
Yeah.
And we actually had no intention to do this, but I had a sexual experience. And my first ever at 18, 19. And I got pregnant. My first ever encounter.
Wow.
Other word, encounter.
Yeah.
And so what does one do? I married him, 4 months pregnant, walking down the aisle. And I said to my mum, I was feeling very shamed, not from anyone that was really having a go at me, but self-shame. And I said, Mum, make me a dress, but don't make it white. Give me an off-white dress and make it just not the traditional. I didn't want to be in a traditional wedding dress because I didn't feel that I was worthy of that. So the other thing that happened on my wedding day, so I'm 4 months pregnant, so you couldn't see very well. The young gentleman that I married, he was a friend of the priest that actually married us, which is unusual, being pregnant. Anyway, but my dad, who I had daddy issues with, I begged him to walk me down the aisle because he'd already thrown me out of the house when he found out I was pregnant. But I just kept going back because I had a daddy hole in my heart. Anyway, he walked me down the aisle and the priest says, "Who gives this woman?" And he says, I do. And he turned around and walked out of the church. So it was like, I've delivered her. I'm out of here.
Wow.
So much going on in this, even though I had God in my heart, but in my soul, I was damaged. And so I hadn't started to read the Bible yet to find out truth. So I was grappling with life. So anyway, this marriage only lasted 14 months. So I had my little girl, packed her up under my arm and started a new life. And so I needed a job. So I was a school teacher, so that was brilliant. But then I started to sing in pubs to make extra money on my own as a single mum.
Do you get, at that moment, so you're 18, you're pregnant, you get married. Did you move in together? Did you were you able to do that self support
With my first
yourself?
husband?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that like? I mean, just for some first-time mums, even in their 20s, it's a difficult thing to kind of manage or to figure that out. But when you're 18 and then you just get married, you become a mum at the same time.
Yes.
What was that environment?
I was actually
like?
19 when I got pregnant, so 20 probably when I had her. Yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, I have a human being, like a human being to care for and look after. And I felt like I didn't have the skills, the support. My husband then at the time, he was the eldest of 10, so he wasn't really into babies. And he kind of didn't want me to have much to do with my family. So it was really hard. And all my girlfriends went overseas. So they all packed up and were doing, life.
Living life, yeah.
Yeah, as a young person. And I'm a mother and in a marriage that's failing, you know. So it was pretty
Must have been a very
lonely.
challenging moment of your life. And
Yes, absolutely. I felt very lonely. So then I met Brendan, who I went back to Teachers College to finish my teaching diploma, and he was my guitar lecturer. And we got together, and we've been together for 42 years now,
Oh, nice.
which is great. So he brought up Elizabeth.
Yep.
And he's just an amazing man. So we joined forces musically, and so therefore we did pubs and clubs together, and then he was at Dracula's Theatre Restaurant as a comedian as well.
So on the Gold Coast?
Well, it did move. It was originally in Melbourne, in Drury Lane in Melbourne, and then they opened up the one on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And I came up for the opening, actually worked there for a month as a kitchen hand and helped open up that time. So, long story shortened, 17 years of out there again trying to make it happen for myself and all of that. Lots of fun experiences, a lot of good people, but again, it's like, this is when I'm not created to do this. So
Yes, because your original skills and talents were in the backyard performing, which you were saying that you started a children's program.
Yes.
So obviously you and your husband, both being musical,
yes,
brainstormed
It's
and came up with
perfect.
some great ideas.
Oh my gosh, it was a perfect combo because he's a songwriter
Yeah.
and he's a real musician.
Yeah.
Like he plays, oh my gosh, the most amazing piano
Yeah.
and guitar, but songwriter, just extraordinary.
Wow.
So because we loved children, being both ex-teachers,
Yeah.
it was like a call. We've got to inspire these kids and not just educate them, but give them something more to look forward to in life, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did that begin for both of you? So you obviously fell in love. He was your guitar tutor.
Yeah, I pretended I couldn't play. There you go.
It's like, can you just show me that note again?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I ended up teaching the class.
That classic line, wasn't it?
Yes.
You just had to lean over your shoulder and strum the right note.
Yeah, and private lessons.
That's right.
But that's so funny because, I then came alongside him and I started to help him teach, the classes. He had 200 students.
Wow.
To teach, because back in the day, primary school teachers had to learn a musical instrument.
Right.
They had to. So it wasn't easy to
There
tune
were a
200
lot of
guitars.
recorders back then, wasn't there?
Oh, please, yes.
There was always some kid in the neighborhood playing a recorder, probably 3 houses down. You could hear it.
Well, when I was a primary teacher, that was one of my things that I had to do, teach recorder, until it was, it was like 30 kids in there, boop, boop, and I'm like, okay, put your recorders down, and then boop over here and a boop over there. I'm like, ah.
And yet when they played properly, they sound lovely, don't they?
Yes, when they
You
do.
must have a lot of patience. I can't cope with one recorder. 30 recorders.
Yeah, it was. But I did it for a year, and I went to the principal, and I actually, because he was a great friend, I took the recorder and I said, okay, if you want the recorder, you can teach it. And he's like, all right, find another way to educate them musically.
Yeah.
And I did, yeah.
Is that when you went to guitar? So
We
traded
did
the recorder for a guitar?
Yeah, I taught music in different kind of ways rather than every child having to learn.
And being a singer too, I'm sure you did a lot
Lots
of singing.
of singing.
Yeah.
So how did you get to the moment thinking, okay, we're going to put this into a TV series?
Okay, so my 2 brothers were television people, so Channel 7, and it was just in the family. Like my brothers, I was inspired by their stories and watching the shows that they'd worked on. And then it was like, well, if you want to reach as many children as possible, you've got to expand. And television was the way that we could do that.
Right.
So our first show was a bomb. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
Neil Elliott came to see it, and this was a great guy that helped us along the way, and he was like, needs a bit of work. So back to the workshop, and then we just started.
Yeah.
And we have a great creative director, Richard Fowler, who still is in our life, and he brings out, he's a producer, director, creative arts guy.
So how long has the TV series been going for now?
Well, it's all on YouTube now, so it just continues.
Yeah.
So, but with networks,
Yeah.
because we travelled the world while we were making this, so I think we got caught up with ministering, taking the good news, the gospel, and we did get caught up. We went around the world 19 times.
Wow.
So those years were like, all right, we've made 13 episodes, now we'll go.
Yeah.
And off we went, and 20 years. So we made another 13 episodes later on, but we haven't made any since. We're doing all YouTube stuff now.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
The world of TV has very much changed in that period of time.
Absolutely. And you can make things like, amazing things like this podcast and reach the world.
Yeah.
And it was based around music, wasn't it? What was like the concept?
Comedy, music. We had a thing called microwave music, so kids would come into our kitchen. It was based in a kitchen because that's the hub of the house. And the kids would come into the kitchen and had a wall of love, so the kids would bring in their creations, and I'd stick them on the wall, and then we'd go on a mission. Like the topics, the themes were like, I am a champion, I'm an overcomer, I can do this, I'm not a mistake. Like all these concepts that we wanted the children to understand how they're fearfully and wonderfully made by God.
Beautiful.
So we unpacked that, and then we also, because we'd done, in Singapore has been our hub. So we've been to Singapore over 100 times, and we did many large stadium events there. So we had a lot of footage of children singing songs of praise and worship to God. So that was part of the show too. Mm-hmm. And then we had an amazing story of a child that we'd met around the world, and we told their story and put that on the show as well.
Sounds amazing. I'll have to check it out.
Check it out.
OK Kids.
OK TV, but it's on our Brendan and Cathie Clancy YouTube.
Yeah. Beautiful. So the second point Angela told me is that you are now working with children.
Still working with kids, yes. But this time it's secondary
right.
High school kids.
And what form has that taken for you?
Well, I'm a chaplain. So I'm a support person in the school, working with the wellbeing team of the school. And that story came about, I never thought I would be doing this. When 2020 happened, COVID, that stopped our world travel with a screeching halt, like it stopped everything around the world. So we went into YouTube mode and made kids' church for churches around the world. But I got unwell halfway through that year, very unwell, and to the point where I couldn't even get out of bed. Couldn't walk to the front door. Had all the tests under the sun, nothing physically wrong, but I believe it was a breakdown.
Right.
Oof.
Yeah.
It was a breakdown.
Yeah. Still quite raw for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's what's raw is where I am now to where I was then.
Do you think it's like we keep going in life and we don't notice these physical things happening, and then the moment you stop, it's, that's when it all comes crashing in?
You hear it time and time again. And when it happened to me, I'm like, this doesn't happen to me. It's like I had a superwoman cape on and thought I could get away with go, 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 go. And no fault of anybody's, just not an awareness of self. Like when we travelled, I don't think I ever had jet lag once. And we travelled 4 continents in one day.
Wow.
And then
is that even possible? Wow.
Is it? Well, maybe it was a bit longer than that, but I remember just go Africa, Thailand, everywhere.
Yeah.
And outputting.
Yeah.
You get there, and Brendan and I are really funny because we didn't have much wisdom. We just thought, we finish here, and we didn't have any breaks or holidays or put any rest time aside. Travel was, getting in a plane was like, well, that's our rest time. I don't think so.
No, because you're still alert, aren't you?
Oh, my goodness. And
what's the next thing?
Yeah. The food changes, the culture changes, the weather changes, the time changes. Anyway, so that 6 months was pretty horrific, but in a way wonderful too, because God was so close, so real. And I just all I could do was open my Bible and sing to him. And bring worship to him and love him and let him love me.
Because COVID was a real forced stop for the world, wasn't it?
Yep.
Like we were literally locked down. So
it
sounds like that's the first time you were forced to stop in, 20 years?
Exactly.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So coming out of that, strength came back.
And how did you come out of that? What were the things you did that...
Okay, so I wasn't eating, so I dropped significantly. I was helped with medication and a lot of care from beautiful people around me, including my family, and rest, heaps of rest. And then I read so many books, some beautiful Christian novels. I'd never read any Christian fiction. And that was just like, whoa, I love this.
Yeah.
Hallmark movies.
Oh, yeah. Number 3.
Yeah, Christmas all year round.
Yes.
Couldn't eat the popcorn though.
No.
I can now. I can wolf it down now.
Yes.
Yeah, so just I had to let the vision of my life go.
Yeah.
And the mission, which was save the whole world of children. Because if I don't, who's going to? I mean, just, yeah.
So you had to surrender over.
Surrender it all over, which is a really good thing to do.
So with your breakdown, that was obviously very physically taxing for you. You said you struggled to get to the front door. I know there was a period of time earlier in your life where you really had a health struggle as well. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah. It was in the 90s. I thought I was pregnant because, things had changed in my body. And so I went to have tests and expecting really to have good news. But instead the doctor said, no, you're not pregnant. You've got cervical cancer.
Oh.
Yeah, in its 4th stage. So a death sentence really in my mind, but
And
completely opposite from the pregnancy result you thought you had.
And maybe even back then, there's probably less research about it and treatment options back then. Would there have been?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's interesting what my memory of it now, but I remember, thank God, that I had a scripture that I'd read in the Bible that Jesus said, "I came that you might have life." And have it in abundance, the Amplified Version says, until it overflows. So actually that's where Overflow Kids came from, that scripture, overflow. So I just really meditated. It was like, okay, so that's could be a death sentence, but you came to give me life, so I'm going to focus on life and what that could look like. And then I went and had my treatment. So I was supposed to have a year's treatment of laser treatment and other things. But it was like a supernatural experience that I had. Brendan came with me for the first treatment and we were in the waiting room and he was just holding my hand and I'm thinking, he came to give me life. And I was just over and over and over thinking. And then, literally, like a fire, from my toes to the top of my head and back down again. And I'm like, what is going on? And
like a physical experience.
Like a physical experience.
And this is in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now I've gone through menopause and that, flushes. You girls are too young for that.
Oh no, we're full on in it.
But it wasn't like that. It was literally going through, surging up and down. And I'm like, whew. And Brendan's like, what's going on? I said, hang on a minute. And I just went on the inside of me and asked God a question, what's going on? And I really heard the voice of God, might sound weird, say, I'm healing you and I'm giving you an anaesthetic.
Wow.
Which was really weird. So for the blokes out there, I'm not going to go into details about the treatment, but I did get into the treatment room and I was numb from the waist down.
Wow. When
they had to do the laser stuff. And I got the giggles because I was awake. And the nurse said to me, have you taken drugs? Have you taken something? You're not supposed to take anything. I said, I haven't taken anything. And joy just overwhelmed me. And I believe it was the gift of faith and the gift of healing that just came. So I went through the treatment and I came back the next month for the next dose and they couldn't find the cancer.
Wow.
So glory to God because, it was incredible.
That's awesome.
For me, my experience of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you've been rebuilt from that moment?
Yeah. Just letting go and surrender. And I remember going to a ladies' meeting because in the church I've been a speaker and been known for what we've done and what we do. But I went to a ladies' meeting, and I went to the front door and opened, and all these beautiful women from my church were there. And I said, stop, do not call me pastor, which is a title for someone who looks after people in the church. And I said, here, please, I want to find out who I am amongst you beautiful women. I just want to fit in and be just a normal, casual woman with no titles or thoughts about what I've done. Let's discover who I am together.
So you'd had the role of pastor previously?
Yes. Yeah, all through those 20 years, there'd been stops and starts. And back in the 90s, when we first came to a church, we were worship people, leaders and singers, and then I picked up the pastor role, which is care for people, and that's what I do. Yeah. And now I'm doing it in a high school in a whole different form.
How are you finding the contrast with caring for high schoolers to what you were doing?
And not being able to really, really, really share Jesus, like, in your face, like I've been doing forever.
Now, isn't there?
Yeah, which is just fine. And I just remember the Lord saying to me, it's okay, I'm going to teach you another language.
You're right.
And so these beautiful students would come in. I would put the tissue box. I'd say to them, okay, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a counsellor, I'm not a guidance officer, but who I am, what I am, is a support to you.
Yeah.
So what's your story? And they would just, tell me. And because I'm a heart on my sleeve person, I would just start to weep. And they're like, Chappie, stop it. Stop it. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is called compassion. Like, I want to do, it's not just empathy.
Yeah.
Because empathy is, understanding, but I just like, I want to help you.
Yeah.
Some action. So anyway, I would think up these amazing things. I know it's God. How about you think about, write 100 things that you're thankful for. Yeah. Just to shift their mindset away from what's not working. And anyway, so it was actually my daughter, my one and only daughter from my first marriage, because Brendan and I couldn't have our own children. So she's our one and only. She said to me, Mum, you'd be a great chaplain. And I'm like, I don't think so. And but I thought, I'll just head towards it, and if the door stays open, if it's the opportunity keeps knocking, and it did, and I'm there, and I love it, and I love these young people, and they challenge me, and I do 100 toasties, the cheese toasties every Tuesday, and they're so grateful, and just, it's great. I love it.
That's awesome. And I think that compassion that you have that brings tears to a situation would really connect with the student.
They trust
and break
me.
Through some boundaries there.
Yeah, absolutely breaks boundaries.
I love that throughout your life, you know that your mission and purpose has always been young people, kids and young people.
Yes.
Because you've got this amazing skill and talent. You're a singer and entertainer, but you haven't used that for a self-serving purpose. You've used that to benefit and help communicate a message to young people, and that seems to have been a vein throughout your whole life, and even now, it's always young people. So many people don't know that in life. They don't know who their mission field is, who they're called to. So what benefit has that been to you to know that?
Well, it defines that it is a calling. Like, it's not something I made up, because it's the passion from 50 years ago, or however long ago it was, to now is as intense.
Was it a conscious thing for you, or do you think it's just where you kept being guided?
Oh, very conscious.
Yeah.
And prayer into it. Like I speak to anyone of all ages. Yeah. And if we go to a church, we love to do a family service. And that's when all the generations are in the room. But it's interesting because I preach to the children, and it's a gift because the adults are just like, oh, and it's like they're reminded that they're God's child.
Yeah.
And even though the years have gone past, don't forget that you're a child also. And it's a huge blessing to be able to do that in different cultures. Doesn't matter what country it is, it's the same thing. And I'm like, well, this really works. But the funny thing is too, like Brendan brings in his guitar on Toasty Tuesday. So we put out our 100 toasties, and then in my space, he gets out the guitar and we sing.
Yeah.
And the kids are like, oh. And they want to hear the songs of the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Yeah. I'm like, this is our music. Like Country Road, hello.
Isn't it funny how it's all come around?
Singing.
They all know that, don't they?
And they think it's their music. Like, Neil Diamond's, what's that song?
Sweet Caroline.
Sweet Caroline. And they all think, how do you know that song?
Hilarious.
I'm like, I went to his concert, Hot August Night.
It's funny because my kids will be singing something and they'll say, I remember when that came out.
They think they're so original and everything's they're the cool ones. We're like, no, this was in our era.
It's so great though because we all sing it together then, and it's cool. It's still cool.
I've done some public speaking and some preaching and that, and I actually find it more difficult to communicate to children than it is to communicate to adults.
Yep.
Like to try and understand their language, to present stories or whatever in a language that's relatable to them. I find that extremely challenging. That obviously comes easy to you. Is it something you've learned, or is it just a gift?
I think it's just a gift. But I don't know, maybe I'm simple because my language doesn't change much. I think it's a supernatural thing because whether I'm speaking to adults or children or youth, it's like the message, it hits hearts and there's a response. I think, wow, it's amazing. Thank you, God.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh.
The question.
That would make me 70.
Now you're giving your age away.
I know. They'd worked it out anyway, 15. In 5 years. The kids say to me, Chappie, you're not leaving, are you? And I say, I will one day. You can't rely on anyone forever. That is,
More travel, do you think?
Well, yes. Yes, we're back in Singapore in May. We went in December. Indonesia asked us yesterday. China has asked us again.
Amazing.
So I'm a little bit like, whoa, doggy. But if God wants us to go, we'll go.
Yeah.
And he will prepare me. Because in my head, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. But that's a good place to be in because I can't do it in my own strength. We've got to go with him. He said he'd be with us. And the call back in the day was go. So
how would you do things differently this time?
Oh, we would have time at the beginning and the end of the engagements we're asked to do.
Yeah.
We'd even maybe have a holiday in a certain place.
Some time out.
Yes. And when we got home, not the hectic next, we'd have gaps and plan the calendar accordingly.
I guess this is things you've learned, through the breakdown as well, that how to look after yourself physically.
Yes, and what fills our bucket.
Yeah.
Like family. Our grandchildren are now 19, 18, turning 18 and 14. And we have family night every Thursday nights, tonight or whenever this shows. And that's just like fills my cup to be around the table with family. Whereas when we were travelling, we missed birthdays. We did make sure we were home for Christmas, and I always cooked the Christmas lunch. But it's like, no, and friendships, my girlfriends, my church, being ordinary. Because when we travelled, we were celebrated. Like when you go to a place and you're the speaker or you're the singer or you're bringing, then you get, looked after and loved on, but it's just not getting caught up in all of that.
And are you loving that place of being ordinary?
I love being ordinary. It's an ordinary woman with an extraordinary God. You've heard that before, probably, but that's the bottom line now. Hey?
There's a lot of beauty in ordinary, isn't there?
Oh, yes.
Yes. And family and time together, meals.
Yep, that's right.
Make life awesome, don't
And
they?
cleaning a house. I enjoy my day of cleaning and washing and, not doing it on the run.
If you love that so much, you're quite welcome at my place.
Maybe not that much. We're only in a small place. Yeah.
Oh,
So I think it's gold time, Beck.
I believe it is.
What's happening?
Cathie, I love hearing your story from way back when you used to put on performances for your neighbours, for the neighbourhood children, to doing a TV production and now serving the kids of the high school as a chaplain. You've had a life that I see is like a light in the darkness. And just like a flame has a lot of energy, you have a lot of energy as well. And even though things have tried to blow that light out, blow the candle out, that energy has been stronger, and that's from God. And I can see that your faith has just driven that lamp throughout your life to go brighter and brighter. And it's almost like the things that have come against you have actually rebuilt that flame to be brighter again. Wow. And I feel like your COVID breakdown was God just giving you that time to refocus, rebuild. And I know He's still got great things for you. And I know you're impacting a lot of lives in every gift that you have. So well done. And I know you're going to go strength to strength.
Thank you, Beck. That's wonderful. I received that.
I just love your passion for life, your passion for purpose, and your pursuit of that. Because passion is contagious.
Yeah.
And I think it just puts people at ease around you because they see this passion, they see this love of life, and it's kind of like contagious that I want to have that. And so I'm sure a lot of kids will look up to that. And whatever situation or circumstance, because bad stuff happens, hard stuff happens, it happens to you.
Yes.
But to be able to lift yourself out of that and always pursue life with a passion is such a great example to young people.
Thank you.
So
Thank
love
you so
that.
much. Oh, I feel filled up.
Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Yeah,
it's a
thank you
pleasure.
so much for
Great
coming into
honour.
the studio and sharing with us.
Thank you.
So that's it for today's podcast. You'll find us on all the major podcast platforms. The podcasts come out every Wednesday. We'd love to hear from you on our socials, the Gold Diggers Podcast. Tell us about your story so we can find the gold in you.
Easy as pie, lemon, apple or cherry. Loving you is so very sweet, sweet, sweet. How can it be such a piece of cake? And your smile is the icing. Loving you is a party. I need you're my sugar.